Hi, I'm Ivan from Webbosh, and in this video, I'll show you how to use Bootstrap 4 in Drupal 8. Now, if you want to use Bootstrap on a Drupal site, the best place to start is the Bootstrap theme. With over 150,000 installs, it is the most popular theme on Drupal.org and also the best way to use Bootstrap in Drupal. But as of this recording, Bootstrap 4 is not supported in the theme, only version 3. So in this video, I'll show you how to use Barrio, which is a Bootstrap 4 base theme, in Drupal 8. So before we can begin, go ahead and download the Barrio theme. And you can download it using Composer with the following command. Composer require Drupal/bootstrap_Barrio. And you can also download it using Drupal console, or if you want, you can even download it manually just by going to this project page and then scrolling all the way down and then downloading it by clicking on one of these links. And also, if you want to learn more about the theme, just head over to drupal.org/project/bootstrap_Barrio. So once you have downloaded the theme and added it into the themes directory, go to Appearance and then scroll all the way down and you should see Bootstrap Barrio and Bootstrap Barrio subtheme. The Bootstrap Barrio theme is the main theme and we'll use it as the base theme, and the Bootstrap Barrio subtheme is just an example subtheme which you can use to create your own subthemes, because in Drupal, remember, you always want to create a subtheme so that you can add in custom overrides and CSS in the subtheme without losing those modifications if you were to update the parent theme. Now, to create a subtheme is pretty simple. Jump into your editor. So I'll jump into PHP Storm, but you can use any type of editor. And then under Themes, Contrib, Bootstrap Barrio, you should see a folder called Subtheme. Let's just copy that and then paste it into Themes. And then I'll call it Barrio Custom, but you can call it whatever you want. And now what we need to do is go through the subtheme and replace any mention of Bootstrap Barrio subtheme with the name of our subtheme. So what I'll do is I'll just open up a few of these folders because I know where all these files are. And let's just replace this settings.yaml file, and we'll replace this schema.yaml, and then we'll replace the .theme. And the next one will be the YAML, the info.yaml, and the libraries.yaml. And let's just do a quick search. Bootstrap, Barrio, subtheme. So we can see everywhere where that term is mentioned in the files. So let's go in here and let's just add in Barrio_custom, which is the name of my subtheme. And let's open up the global.js, and then under the info, let's replace Bootstrap Barrio subtheme in the library section. Now this is important. If you don't change this, then Bootstrap won't be loaded up through the CDN. And let's change this hook so it actually gets fired off. And let's just do another quick check. There's probably one extra place. There we go. And let's just go down to preview library and replace it there. Perfect. So right now we have created a subtheme and simply replaced Bootstrap Barrio subtheme with our subtheme name. And so if we jump back into our site and refresh, you'll see that we have two Bootstrap Barrio subthemes. Why is that? And that is because we didn't change the label or the name up here. So open up the .info.yaml and let's just call this Barrio. And let's just call this Barrio Custom. And then if we refresh the page, you'll see the Barrio Custom subtheme, which we just created. So let's go ahead and install it. And you can easily install it just by clicking on Install and Set as Default. And then if we go to our home page, we should have a working Bootstrap site. That's awesome. Let's open up the inspector and make sure there are no errors, because sometimes you may get JavaScript errors and you want to make sure everything's working well. And also let's just test the navigation that it's working. Perfect. Okay. So right now it is working. Let's now look at the theme configuration because you can configure a few things through the settings page. So click on Manage, Appearance, and then click on Settings. And from here, you can configure a bunch of stuff. Now, I won't show you every single piece of configuration. I'll just show you some important ones. The first important one is under Container. You can switch the container to be a fluid container. So let me just show you what that means. If I open up the home page in a different tab and let's inspect, and let's just hover over. Let's try and find the main ID. There you go. Here you can see the main div, which wraps the content area, has a class called container. And if we were to set this to fluid container, instead of this area being contained at 1140 pixels, fluid container makes it go full width. But just one thing to be aware of, there's still a 15 pixel padding on the left and the right. If you want to display a hero image edge to edge, you will have to come up with another solution because you'll still have white space on the sides because of the 15 pixel padding. So just be aware of that. So let's just set this back to container, and under region, you can set classes for the region area. And then sidebar first layout and sidebar second. This allows you to control the width of the sidebar. So the sidebar first width is this sidebar. And let's just refresh this. And you can see that if we inspect, you'll see that there is a class col-md-4. So that means that this region is 4 columns wide. And if we go back here, you can see that it is set to 4 columns. If we were to change it to 2 columns, that means that the sidebar first will then be 2 columns wide. And you can see that it's very, very narrow. And you can see the class col-md2. And you can also do the same for the sidebar second region. Let's just set that back to 4. And then under components, you can change the default size of the buttons. And then under navbar, you can control the navbar. You can even contain the navbar. So if we have a look at the navbar now, you can see that it's all the way to the left. If we were to check navbar with container, and then refresh, you will see that it's now contained with the rest of the site. And then if you go to affix, you can configure the affix functionality so that elements stay at the top of the browser as you scroll down. And then from the scroll spy section, you can configure this Bootstrap bit of functionality. And then under fonts, you can configure the Google fonts. You can change it. And then also the icon set. And then under colors, you can change the system message colors. And then you can also change the tables. And then under color scheme, you can change the color of the whole site, which is actually pretty cool because in the Bootstrap theme, to change the color, you have to compile Bootstrap locally using Sass. But from here, you can easily use this color functionality, which Drupal has had for years, but it's good to see that it's integrated in here. So if we were to change it to Firehouse, and now the site looks red instead of blue. The only thing you can't do, which is a bit of a shame, is that you can't change, let's go back here, is that you can't change the Bootstrap primary, secondary, info, warning, and I think error colors. Those are the names for the 5 major colors. And so if we go into the Bootstrap documentation, go under documentation, where is it? I think it's under utilities, colors. Yes, you cannot change these. How much is that? Oh, sorry, 6. Primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, and info colors. To change these colors, you would have to compile Bootstrap locally and then change the color values in the variables file. but you cannot change it from here, which is a bit of a shame. Okay, so let's go back to our home page and let's look at how the Bootstrap library is actually getting loaded, because we haven't downloaded the library yet. And the way it's getting loaded up is through a CDN. So if we view the source, and let me increase the size, you can see that Bootstrap is getting loaded through bootstrapcdn.com. And so this is the minified CSS. And then if we scroll all the way down, you should see the Bootstrap JavaScript file and one of its dependencies, Popper. Now, with the Popper library, you only need it if you are going to use the tooltips. So let me go into components. Let me just search for it. Tooltips, these. So if you want to use this tooltips functionality, so when you hover over buttons, you get this nice little tooltip, then you will need to use the Popper library. But if you're not going to use those tooltips, you won't need the Popper library. And Bootstrap actually has two dependencies, Popper and also jQuery. But luckily for us, Drupal comes with jQuery, so we don't have to worry about that. So let me show you now how Bootstrap is getting loaded through the CDN. So let's jump back into our subtheme. And if we open up the libraries.yaml file, you will see that there's this bootstrap_CDN. And it's defined two assets under JavaScript so that these two will get loaded. And then under CSS, it's loading up this CSS file. And then to use bootstrap_CDN, all you need to do is under info.yaml, just add it like so under libraries. That is how the theme is using the CDN version of Bootstrap. Now let's download Bootstrap and load it up locally, because sometimes you may not want to use a CDN. Now to do that, let's first download the Bootstrap library. So if you go to Home and then click on Download, and make sure you download compiled CSS and JavaScript. Now I've already downloaded that, and place it into your libraries directory. And if you can't see a libraries directory, then just create it. And what I'll do is I will extract it and then rename the folder name so it's just Bootstrap. And you can see that under CSS, we have a whole bunch of CSS files, and then under JS, we have the JavaScript. Now, you will notice that there's the minified versions, okay? So we can just ignore them for now, but there's bootstrap.js and also bootstrap.bundle.js. Now, what's the difference? Well, bootstrap.bundle ships the Popper library. So we won't have to manually maintain it or manually download it. We can just use Bootstrap Bundle, which comes with Popper. Whereas Bootstrap doesn't come with jQuery or Popper. And then, of course, the minified version is just a minified version of the original file. So to use these assets, what we need to do is jump back into our subtheme under libraries. And what we'll do is we'll have to change this Bootstrap one because we're not using Popper. So we can get rid of that. And also, we don't have a disk directory, okay? But what I'll do is, let's just use this first, just to make sure it's working. And so I want to see that the site actually breaks. So let's do that first. Let's pop this in here. And then if we refresh the page, let's just close these because we don't need them. So now what we need to do is rebuild the site cache. So if you go into configuration and then click on performance, click on clear all caches, or if you want, you can just do it through the command line, which I'll do later on. But let's just rebuild it. And we'll also turn off CSS and JavaScript aggregation so we can see the files getting loaded up. Let's go back to the homepage and you can see that it is broken. Awesome. And then if we inspect, we should see this error. Okay, so it is saying that libraries/bootstrap/dist blah, blah, blah is not being loaded up. And that is because you can't find it. So what we need to do is go into libraries, remove these two values, dist, and then rebuild again. So what I'll do is just type in drush cr, And then if we refresh, it should work. It should work. Perfect. And then if we view source and let's search for libraries, you can see that it's getting loaded up here. Awesome. That's the CSS, and the JavaScript is getting loaded up. Where is it? Slash libraries is getting loaded up here. Perfect. But remember, we said that we're going to use the bundle version. So let's just do that now. Let's just rebuild the site cache. And if we refresh this, I know it's going to work. I just want to make sure that it's getting loaded up. And if we click on it, we can see the actual JavaScript file. Awesome. Okay, so that is working. Okay, let's now look at loading up Bootstrap another way, because believe it or not, there's multiple ways to load up Bootstrap in Drupal, because there's always 10 different ways to do things in Drupal. So the next way to load up Bootstrap is by using a module called Bootstrap Library. So if you go to drupal.org/project/bootstrap_library, and then from here, you can download the Drupal 8 version, or if you are using Composer, which you should be, you can download it using this command, composer require Drupal/bootstrap_library. And then once it's downloaded, go to extend, and then search for Bootstrap, and then let's just install this. And then if you go to structure, and then if you go to configuration, and then Bootstrap library, and then from here you can configure the module. But the module has a few areas where you can configure it, okay? And the first place is if you go into appearance, settings, and you scroll all the way down, and this may not be obvious, you have this option right down at the bottom. And when I was first playing around with Bootstrap library, I couldn't get it to work. And it wasn't until I came all the way here and I was like, well, I don't see anything new. And it's not until you scroll all the way down that you see this little bit right down here. And so from here, you can select if it gets loaded up through a CDN, if it uses the non-minified version. And then if you were to set it to none, it will use the settings which has been configured on the main configuration page. So let's just set this to none and then click on Save Configuration, and then we can configure it all from here, and it just makes life a lot easier. And the first thing you can do from here is change the version of the CDN. So if you want, you can use the version 4.0.0, so let's just do that. And then I think we also need to set the theme visibility as well. So let's just do that. And then if we go to the home page and you go view source, you'll see that this CDN is getting loaded up, but it's still loading up Bootstrap the way we set it up previously. So if you are going to use Bootstrap library module, make sure you remove this declaration. Because trust me, you don't want to be loading up two different versions of Bootstrap on the same site. And then if we hit refresh, we should only see the CDN and we shouldn't see anything else. Nice. Okay. Awesome. And then if we go back into the configuration page, if we were to set it to load locally, then it'll use these options down here, the non-minified, minified, and also Composer installed libraries. Now, I wanted to cover how to use Composer in here, but I couldn't get it working the way I want it, and I'll leave that for another video. And then if you scroll further down, you can control which paths the library gets loaded on, which is pretty cool. And then from here, you can select which files get loaded up, CSS or JavaScript. But if you don't check anything, then all of them will be loaded up. So let's just click on Save Configuration. And then if we reload the site, it should be loading up from libraries. Perfect. Now, one thing to be aware of is that the popper library isn't being loaded up. The only time popper gets loaded when you use Bootstrap library is if you are loading it through the CDN. So that's something to be aware of. Because if we have a look at the module, so if we go under modules, contrib, Bootstrap library, you will see under libraries that it's just pulling in Bootstrap minified version and Bootstrap minified CSS, and that's it. There's no popper. So just be aware of that. But if you're loading up Bootstrap through the CDN, then popper gets loaded. Now, 2 other themes which I recommend you look at if for some reason you don't want to use Barrio. And the first one is Bootstrap 4. So if you go to drupal.org/project/bootstrap4, all one word, this is a theme to look at. Now, I actually know this person who maintains it. It'll be rude for me not to recommend it. And the other one is Boot Base. And this one is another Bootstrap 4 base theme. So check them out if you don't like Barrio. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to be notified of future videos, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to learn more about Drupal, well, head over to webwash.net. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.